All right, folks, don't go anywhere. You're about to learn about the X Factor today on Cliff's Notes. You don't want to miss this. Stick around. Real estate agents, are you struggling with the day-to-day grind, dialing for dollars, putting in hours of floor time with little to show for it? Are you looking for tips, tricks, and tactics to accelerate your career as an agent that will have you closing more homes, working with more clients, and earning more money than ever before? Hi, my name's Cliff Freeman, and I've spent the past 2 decades of my real estate career running one of the top brokerages in DFW and personally coaching over 1,000 high-performing real estate professionals across North America. I created this podcast to share the strategies and tactics you need to explode your real estate business. I guarantee it. All right. Welcome, everybody, to Cliff's Notes today. Today is, are we already at the end of February? I can't believe it. Trelvis, is it football season yet?
You know what? I'm more of a basketball fan myself, so football season doesn't really excite me, but it's not here quite yet, Cliff. You're a little too anxious.
Well, I've been seeing something on TV recently. What is it,
man?
The
XFL.
It's like an X-rated football or something?
It's XFL.
Oh, XFL.
Yeah, Dallas Renegades is our team.
Oh, we have a team, and do we actually have a horse in the race on this one?
You know what? I think so. Landry Jones is our quarterback. Bob Stoops is our coach. So, I mean, we're set up pretty good.
I recognize that last name you mentioned.
Bob Stoops?
Yeah,
of course. Oklahoma's finest, I guess.
Well, I'll tell you what. Speaking of X's, I got the X Factor on the show today.
There we go.
Ladies and gentlemen.
That was quite a segue.
You like that seg? And I was on segs in Puerto Vallarta not too long ago. That was a lot of fun, too. And I am super stoked, super excited to have really the secret weapon for my team now, which is up to just about 30 agents. And, there comes a point when you got to make sure that you have the backbone of your business in place. And so this lady right here, Rachel Cahill, she's a sought-after speaker, a prolific writer. You've written more textbooks than you can even remember now. And you've been in this business almost as long as I have, but you look so much younger, and I don't understand. You got started when you were like 13, I guess, or something, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yes. 13, yes.
We are super excited to have you on the show, Rachel, today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to dive into this because, our audience is primarily very successful real estate agents, but we also have some agents who are at various levels in their career. Some of them are brand new. Mm-hmm. Some of them have great dreams and aspirations. They want to build a team. And I know what we're going to do today is really unpack a lot of what it is they need to know with regard to how to build a team correctly and make sure that you don't wind up in trouble, right? Because what happens, you work your tail off, you get your production up. How many lawsuits does it take to wipe out everything you've worked for?
It can take just one.
Not only lawsuits, but you look at like RESPA, and that comes with free, all-inclusive at the Crossbar Hilton, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's jail time, right? Travis, you ever heard of the Crossbar Hilton?
I have not heard of the Crossbar Hilton. When
I was growing up, my dad said, be sure you don't ever check into that hotel. Okay?
It's not the place to be.
It is not the place to be.
Bad reviews.
That's clever.
Reviews.
I like
So we're going to talk about that today. But in the meantime, let's get started here. I want to introduce Rachel to the audience. And you know how I like to kind of go back. And this is a real show about real people. And Rachel, I'd like to just get the audience to know you a little better. Sure. And so I want to is it okay if we kind of go back? I don't want to go too far back, but tell us about kind of your early years and what is it that developed this interest that you have in real estate? I mean, you have a passion for real estate. What got that fire going?
My background is really interesting. I actually worked for my dad as an attorney when I was, my dad was an attorney and I worked for him in his office when I was a teenager. And I really liked what I was doing there and being around the law stuff quite a bit. And he always wanted me to, and still wants me to be a lawyer. I just don't want to spend the time going to law school. So, but I've, really kind of evolved over the time. When I was in college, I actually took a job that was supposed to be just a receptionist job, and turned out that I really liked reading disclosures and doing all kinds of stuff, and started processing and origination on the loan side. And then I've evolved into teaching and writing textbooks and doing compliance consulting. And my passion for real estate really comes out of that background for doing it right, and really helping buyers and sellers through the process so they have a really good understanding of what's going on, and making sure everything's done right and to give them the best protection I can.
Okay.
So it all pulls from my compliance background.
Well, that sounds like the DNA right there that makes a pretty good person for the position that you're in right now. But why real estate? What was it about real estate? You know, Google has something they call the zero moment of truth, or the ZMOT, where, you know, that's when the person that's on the website makes that crucial buying decision, that exact moment, that epiphany. Did that moment occur in your life when you just said it's going to be real estate? Because law covers a lot of stuff, but why real estate?
Why real estate? I really like the creativity, because nothing is ever the same. There's no cookie cutter deal. You know, some people will, you know, try to tell you it's easy, every transaction's, you know, just like the other one, and just do them all the same. And they're really not. You really have to be in a very consultative manner with your buyers or your sellers, whoever your client is, so that you're giving them the best representation. And so I love that it's not, you know, strict hours. It's not, you know, a strict 9-to-5 job. You're not sitting at a desk all the time, because I don't do well in those kind of situations. I like talking to people. I like being around people. I like using my creative ideas and my skills and bringing all that together. And real estate just gives me the opportunity to express all kinds of things with my creativity on the marketing side and my compliance and all of the things that I've developed over my career. I pull it all together, and I'm able to give that to my clients. And so that's what really makes me excited about it, that I can share all that with them.
Well, you know, you bring up a really important thing that a lot of people have mulled over the last few years, and that is the sort of institutionalization of the real estate business and the death or the demise of the real estate agent. Mm-hmm. But a great point you bring up is that this is not like buying an airline ticket, and it's not even like buying a car. This is a process that can take up to a month just to get from contract to close. Sure. And there are 168 or more variables all along the way that you have to manage. And if you fail to manage even one of those variables the way it's supposed to be done, it can result in a significant financial impact on your client, right?
Absolutely.
So are real estate agents going away, do you think?
I don't think there's a way for them to go away. I think that people like having the hands-on, somebody there to really work with them, and somebody who's got their back. And, you know, there's a time and place for these things. You know, the iBuyer is obviously a very hot topic right now. And there's all these, you know, different ways that these bigger real estate companies are putting together different models, you know, like the Zillows and the Open Doors and things like that, going in and actually buying the house, and so that the seller doesn't have to deal with all of the process. And, you know, for some people, maybe that, you know, is something that works for them. Maybe they had a experience in the past with a bad agent. I think that's what you hear most of the time from those people who want to go down that path where they go agentless. They just sell to, you know, Zillow or whatever. And I think that, you know, a lot of what I try to bring and try to remember is that, you know, the better I am at what I do, the more I can give to my clients. The more education, everything else that I can bring to them, I help them through that process and give them a customized feel where they're not feeling like part of a process, a system. They're not just a number in my, you know, my spreadsheet or whatever that I'm using for tracking. So it's very, very individualized. And I think there are a lot of people out there that still want that individual attention, that understand their needs.
Okay, all right.
So,
well, you clearly have the heart of a teacher. You've written many a textbook, as I mentioned earlier, but not only that, you also help build a platform, an online, actually like a university, mm-hmm. For mortgage and real estate people. Tell me, what was that like? How was that going through? And like you kind of started from scratch, didn't you?
Yeah, we really did. We brought together, you know, classes that I was teaching in the classroom setting, and really kind of reformatted it and created online courses out of it. and which took, that was kind of the beginning of my course writing, background. And it was really a lot of fun, because then when we came to designing the software, we had to really think about, what's the user experience going to be like? What do users want now? And then we have to keep evolving with that, so that, the technology has to kind of evolve. So, it used to be people wanted to do everything online and they want to click through. And then you also have to manage that with the changing requirements on the, from Texas Real Estate Commission or, NMLS or whatever. They have all these requirements that they keep changing. So it's constantly evolving on that. So but it's fun, because I've learned, some basic web design stuff, and, I get to dabble in a lot of different things. And so I like doing that kind of stuff. I like challenging myself with new experiences.
Right. And speaking of challenging and new experiences, one of your primary responsibilities on our team is going to be helping mentor and really plant a great seed in some of the new agents that we want to bring on. And, I've always been a big believer. I'm just like everybody else. When I started out with my real estate license, my bank account had zeros all across it. And, it wasn't before long, fortunately, that I was able to make a go of it. But I've heard Gene Frederick, I think Gene's the one that said it, that 80% of the commissions that will be paid in 5 years will be paid to agents who don't even have a license today. So,
I've heard that too.
And with an attrition rate of, I think the industry average is turnover is about 28% a year. And we know that it's like somewhere around 80% of agents don't even renew their license after the first year.
Yeah.
I mean, there's this constant influx of new blood that's coming into our business. Even though the average age may be older, the average tenure, I mean, it's one of those kind of things where it's skewed because there are so many new people that come into the business each year. And your goal is to make an impact with those people. Tell me, why do you think it's important that you hit them right when they come through the gate?
Because I think that if you start at the very beginning, when you first get that license, because you get the opportunity to work with them and get them to build good habits. In this industry, there's things you can do and you can get lost, because there's a lot of noise. There's all kinds of coaching systems out there that are just like constantly emailing you, and then you get added to all these mailing lists. And once you have an email address that's out there public, you start getting all these listings sent to you by email, and it's just like noise. And so you really have to figure out how to cut through the noise and how to carve out a space for yourself so that you can actually build your book of business and start doing, your own real estate transactions and learn. But, my focus really is going to be on helping these agents, get through that first startup period so they know what to do, and getting the education and other pieces in place, because it's not just about those pre-license courses that you take before you get your license, and then the several of them that you have to take after you get your license when you're in that first renewal period. There is so much to learn beyond what they teach you in those classes. It's much more than here's how to fill out a contract. And that's all they teach you. And then they send you out and they give you a license. They say, here, go get them. Well, that's because they expect the brokerage to provide that experience and that, training on, hands-on training to you. But most of the brokerages don't do that. So I'm really in our group, I'm really working to build a system so that we can make sure everybody gets a really good, successful start and can hit the ground running.
Well, that's, I think you make a really important point here. And, the business model for brokerages has evolved over years, but it's gone from an evolution to a revolution. And I think you know what I'm talking about. But, if, and I was involved in a sort of a big box brokerage where agents would come in and, I had a heart to help people. I was a productivity coach at an office, and I had 40 agents at one point that I was coaching.
I remember that.
And, the thing is that, you can only do so much with limited resources. And when, you've got a market center that's got 460 agents in it, and, you're trying to give attention to, enough attention to those agents to really make a meaningful impact and a meaningful difference in their lives, you can't leverage that because you're swapping time for money. So one of the commitments that we made early on was to keep our group small so that we could give that individual attention to people and really help them be successful. So you've got a couple of interesting projects that you're going to be working on. Initially, we're launching that 30-day program,
Right.
And then also compliance and following the rules and the regulations. Rachel, we talked earlier about the passion and the drive you have for that. Why is it? What are some of the pitfalls and the dangers that agents face if they don't put forth that effort to continue to get the education and learn as much as they can about the business?
Oh, this is, really where I think a lot of new agents fail, and even some of the older agents. Like I said, I've been doing the online education and stuff for many, many years, and live education, and I've seen a lot of agents that have come through and really struggled with some things. And, it sometimes it's like, gosh, if they had better training earlier on, they probably would have developed better habits. When you're going through the contract negotiation process, there's all these different steps that have to happen on certain timelines. Do you understand the definition of calendar days? Do you understand, how to get earnest money here and there, and who needs to get the option fee money, and, all these different things that go on, all these moving parts. And they don't teach you that in real estate school. When you first get your license, you don't really get a good handle on that, because it's all just so much information. It's like, when they say that saying about, turning on the fire hose and you're kind of drinking from the fire hose. But, I think that if you really understand what's happening in the transaction, if you really understand the moving parts and the compliance pieces of it, you can give your clients the best experience they have ever had. And you'll get referrals from that, because you took care of them and you protected them, and they want that protection from you. So if you don't know what you're doing, then you aren't able to provide that. So education is absolutely paramount. I constantly take classes. I take classes every week. And it's not because I don't know what I'm doing. It's because I want to keep learning. I want to keep hearing how other people are doing things. Everybody's got a different way of, explaining something. It's like, oh man, I've been 10 years, I've been talking about that, and I never really thought about it quite like that. That's kind of cool, and it's like, you can always learn stuff from other people. And so you constantly need to be taking classes and learning as much as you can, that way you can walk through a house, you take classes on the big five, and you understand, all the big significant moving parts of a house, what's going on there. And that allows you to walk a house with your buyers if they're shopping, and you can show them some of the things, before they spend $100 on an option fee and $500 on an inspection. Before they drop all that money, you can kind of point out some things that could be risks and that they would want to get checked out. And so, that gives them a much, much better picture before you go through all the process of writing up a contract, making an offer, or getting it accepted, and wasting all that time, and then finding out that deal's just going to blow up and fall apart anyways.
Sure. Well, I mean, and just like in any other profession, you wouldn't want to go hire a doctor who wasn't maintaining their education, right? And staying on top of all the new techniques and so forth. Same with an attorney, financial planner, any of that. And, real estate agents fall in that same bucket. We are service professionals, and, it's incumbent upon us to continue to be the best that we can be.
Absolutely.
All right. So I want to shift gears here for a little bit, and I want to ask you, because you are a product of a lot of different influences, right? So tell me today, who do you follow? Who influences you today?
With the real estate side, I've been really focusing. There's a coach mentor. Her name's Alina Schumacher. She's in Canada, and I've been really listening to her information. She has books and she has audio that you can listen to, any time of the day. And I love her concept because that she's got kind of as her core foundation. And she talks about being the flame that attracts the moth instead of being the moth that's constantly chasing the flames. So she really wants you to be a community leader, being somebody who's knowledgeable and can be very professional and give people, that good experience. And then people will come to you. You can be the flame instead of you're the moth kind of flittering around searching for the flame. So she's very much influenced my way of thinking of how I want to.
I mean, I can see that. I know you. You espouse that. I mean, you're heavily involved in charitable contributions and the Scouts and with your time and so forth. And, you have a family. You've got a good sized family.
Yeah.
That takes time. You've got a young. How old is your youngest now?
The bonus baby is 4.
The bonus baby is 4.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
2 in high school and 1 that just graduated college.
Okay. So I mean, that is wow. And a husband and a business, and now you're taking on the team here and everything. How do you balance that? How does the life balance work when you're that busy?
Very carefully. I actually rely on systems like Google Calendar. If you're not using something like Google Calendar or whatever your calendar system is, you're going to have stuff fall through the cracks. I think it's especially hard for, parents, working parents, because there's so many things to juggle that, it's not like in the old days where you had work and you had, your other spouse stayed home and took care of the kids or something. This is not like that, and I'm not like that anyways. I've always been very career minded. And so finding that balance of, being a mom, being in the community, and, doing great things at work is, obviously a very delicate balance, but I rely very heavily on my calendar. I'm very careful to schedule things and very protective of my time to make sure that I'm not doing things that are wasting my time too. So, if a buyer's, not very certain about a certain property, I'll tell them, it's like, you looked at that and you said you didn't like it. So, we're not going to spend an hour driving out there. If I'm showing a farm and ranch property, I actually just had to have this conversation with my buyers a couple weeks ago. It's like, I'm not going to show you that house because, you don't like it. So we're not going to waste our time on that.
Well, what's the old saying? If you don't learn how to manage your clients, then your clients are going to manage you, right?
That's your time. We'll do that too.
So to a new agent, how important on a scale of 1 to 10 is time management?
It's absolutely important because you can get lost in all of the tools and all of the things going on. And I think one of the things that I see with new agents is that they really don't take it very seriously. They don't treat it like a job. And this is your career. This is your business. You got to start thinking like you're self-employed, like you're running your business, and, where is that money going to come from? So if you're thinking that, you can just kind of sit around and wait for the phone to ring, it's not going to happen. You've got to take the steps and treat it like a real job and give it the respect it's due and actually do the work. So.
Okay. So, there's an old saying that people get into this business for 3 reasons. 1 is they want to own their own business. 2 is they want to have their own schedule. And 3 is they want the promises of untold wealth, right?
Absolutely.
And so everybody gets the first 2 pretty easily. Yeah. But it's that last one. And the key to that is time management. What about how important is it to be able to implement systems in your business?
You have to implement systems, and you have to understand how to use, whether you're using, a old school paper planner, if that's, if you're like a Covey person and you want to do
Franklin
7 habits.
Covey, yes.
You want to break out your, your old planner, and that's, if that works for you, awesome. Rock it, keep it updated, keep with that system. If you're a digital person, I'm obviously an Android person, but if you're an Apple person, they each have their systems for, managing your calendar and creating all your documents, storage and everything like that. Just find a system and get it really well set up to begin with, so you have all your tools available to you when you need them, so you're not like searching around for things and trying to make stuff up as you go. So take some time and invest in setting up your systems so that you know what you're going to need, rather than waiting until the phone rings and then you're like, and you're scrambling around trying to make things happen and you're making it up as you go. That's right. Much more difficult.
Right. Yeah, excellent. So great advice out there. Become a ninja time manager and a 10 out of 10 on systems implementation. And that'll get you out of the door pretty quick. All right, I want to turn the clock back a little bit. You and I first met back, I don't want to say how many years it's been, but it's been at least 15 years ago. And we met because we were both involved in the education side of the business. I think I was director on the Dallas Association of Mortgage Brokers, and you were teaching. I met Jerry Rutledge, your partner at Alliance Academy. And by the way, if you're interested in seeing what a great online continuing ed classroom looks like, go to allianceacademy.org, right? That's Rachel's personal website. She and Jerry partnered up and she built that out and wrote the content for it. So we're real proud of her for that. But you and I met right just prior to the great short, the great crash, the real estate crash of 2006, 7, 8, right in those years.
Right.
There's a lot of people in this business. I bet many, probably 80 or 90%, that joined the real estate business post 2007 and 8. What can you tell these people that haven't been through what you and I went through? What kind of advice can you give them?
Yeah, it's funny when I kind of think about that. It was a little over 10 years ago that we really hit the rock bottom on things. And when I talk about it in my classes, it really feels like you're talking about history, like when you were in school and you were talking about World War II. It's exactly what I was thinking, because it was like, you're like, man, that's just like ancient history, but that will never happen again. That stuff never happens. And, we've been very fortunate, as far as wars go, that we haven't really had to have any, major things happen, in most of our lifetimes. Our parents certainly have gone through a lot of that stuff, but, we've really been very fortunate in current times not to, to have a very peaceful environment. The closest thing we've had is this sort of, earthquake that shook our industry, and the world economy, went down with us, because the whole world was buying into U.S. real estate. If it had, U.S. real estate attached to it in any way, shape, or form, AAA plus,
right?
Stamp it, and give it the seal of approval, and we're buying in, and so we took
Fitch, Moody's, all of those rating agencies.
We took countries down because they were so heavily invested in us, and so it's like talking about ancient history, though, when you talk about it, because most of these people that are in the industry right now, many of them have been in just like a couple of years, 3 to 5 years, and so they've never experienced anything like that.
Right.
So it's sort of like talking about World War II with them. They just don't understand, why do I have to hear all this stuff with TRID and Dodd-Frank and all of this stuff that's going on?
QM mortgage, right? All that stuff.
Why do I have to jump through all these hoops? Why can't it be like easier than this?
Yeah. Well, as you and I have mentioned or talked about on a number of occasions, I got out of the lending business because of Dodd-Frank, and because of it just got to be such a headache to get a loan done, and the pendulum swings to extremes up in Washington, and they tend to overcompensate for things, and
they were trying not to get tarred and feathered.
Yeah,
so they had to.
That's right.
They had to
take
strong reaction.
But this administration has been, I think, trying to unwind some of that a little bit, just to make it give us a little more flexibility. But you never know what's going to happen in D.C. You just got to get prepared for whatever administration's agenda is, and then try to still make a living doing it. But what's really funny about this, and this is to come full circle, this is actually what brought you and me back together again, was that during this time back in 2008, when the Chicken Little was right and the sky was literally falling, there was a young man who had been a very successful mega agent for Keller Williams up in Washington State, who contemplated how to build a company that would not only be able to survive what we did in 2008, what we went through, but would actually thrive and gain market share. And that young man's name is Glenn Sanford. He's now founder and chairman of the board of the directors of our brokerage, eXp Realty. And his whole premise for building this was to build something for agents that was sustainable. And I'm looking here at the back, our core values. I'm going to turn my cup around so you can see them. But sustainability is a big part of the whole thing. Agility, being having fun, all of the great things that the reasons why we joined. But it's very interesting to see how the eXp business platform has attracted so many people, and many veterans who, like you and I, went through what happened in 07, 08, 9, 10, and literally had to claw our way back up. After basically I can't tell you how many friends of mine went through bankruptcies.
Yeah.
Good
Lost
friend of
their
ours.
homes, went back to selling
Rick
cars.
Jiha in Marin County and in San Francisco. Everybody was tied to a market center through a personal lease or something like that, and it literally tore families apart. But I must say, and this is, when I first saw this, I obviously, fell in love with the business model, but I couldn't sleep for 3 days. I had EXP insomnia, is what we call it now, just because I knew how powerful this model would be not only in an up market, but in a down market, which, there's a lot of people looking around right now, wondering if we're, again, it's sort of one of those, are we closer to a top or a bottom? I want to ask you sort of your thoughts on that. You've been around a real estate cycle or two. How long do you feel like this bull market in real estate can continue to go on?
It's the $1 million question. Don't we all want to know? Everybody's asked me that question, and nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody could have really known what we were going to go through, and except the players who did know, and they were not really factoring that in. One of the things that really caused a lot of problems during that time period was the assumption of appreciation, that the housing values are constantly going to go up and up and up and up. And when that broke, the whole system broke, because it's like, what do you mean I can't sell my house? I could always sell my house for more than I bought it from. So if I can't afford it, somebody else is willing to come behind me and fix it. So that that idea, that kind of naivete, as we would have, nobody saw it coming. Everybody just kind of assumed everything's wonderful. And like if you would watch the Lego movie, I have little ones, so they had this, everything is awesome song in it. It's like, if we're just going along, everything is awesome, and just going along with everything, you're going to be caught off guard. So, one of the things that you really always have to keep in mind is that you don't know when the market's going to take a turn. There's something going on in the market. Like right now, we've got health concerns affecting the marketplace. I mean, there's anything that can happen. You don't know when a war is going to start, and that can change the market. Those kind of things are completely unpredictable. But you have to be ready and leveraged to stay in the game, because no matter what's going on in the market, there's always real estate going on in the market. Because even when the things were going down, there's investors out there buying rental properties, and taking over things. So there's always real estate work to be done. And so you just have to know and be there and be able to stay there long enough to be able to play the game and survive. It's all about adapting. And that's, one of the things that I pride myself on throughout my career. And this is what I try to explain to my kids too, because they're trying to figure out, what do I want to be when I grow up? And I think we're all trying to figure out, that answer. What do I want to be when I grow up? And it's just, you just got to adapt, be available and be flexible and be ready to adapt to whatever challenges are coming in front of you. Be excited about that. It's a new opportunity, and just go for it. But leverage yourself so that you have resources to get you through those times. So don't, spend all your money that you're making. It's like, oh, cool, I just got my first, $12,000 commission check. Woohoo, I'm going to go buy a big fancy car. And ooh, now, it's going to go buy a big fancy house and lock yourself into all this debt. If you don't have, a good steady commission level, and you're setting yourself up too high, then you're going to, really have financial problems when the market does settle back down. We're going to have ups and downs. If you stay in this business for any period of time, there's going to be ups and downs. It's a roller coaster thing, and you never know when you're going to have the up and the down. So you just got to stay prepared and not get caught unprepared.
Right. It reminds me, and I'm not a doom and gloomer, but I got to tell you what, I don't know if you know who Rob Hahn is, Notorious Rob. He's sort of a he does exposés on the real estate industry, and he's a great writer, got great insight on the business. He was interviewing his buddy from Stevens Inc. about a couple of things that are going on in the business right now. And the guys were talking, and they said, they could easily see the number of real estate agents in the United States shrinking by 2/3. And really, that's how much overcapacity, how much slack we have in the system. Now, that might scare the heck out of some of you out there in the audience, but I can't wait for that to happen, okay? Yeah. I think that would be great, because that just means the real estate pie for us who are remaining is going to be bigger.
And that's exactly what happened after the crash.
That's right.
Coming back out of it, it really eliminated a lot of people in the industry on the loans, on the lending side and on the real estate side. A lot of people went away to go get real jobs that would actually try to pay their bills or get close to paying their bills. But what was left were the real professionals. That's right. Yeah. So I guess if there's a word here that I'd like to put out in the universe, that is get in alignment with the right people before it's too late. Mm-hmm. You don't want to be rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. You want to be out there on the ski boat, cruising past the Titanic to the next island. Okay.
Rachel, this has been great. Gosh, I just looked at the clock and I can't believe how fast time has gone. I want you to do us a favor. I want you to drop one or two key nuggets. What's drop the biggest value that you can in about 30 seconds here? What do you have for our folks?
Get educated. Learn as much as you can and be a professional. Because if you're not a professional, your clients will know it. They'll know you're faking it, and they will go somewhere else, and you will not get referrals out of that.
Yeah, amen. That's so true. Yep. Wow. Well, what a great session today. I get refreshed talking to you because I know that your heart's in the right place. You have a great vision for this business and this industry, and you pour into it. You really pour into it, and we need more people like you who are dedicated to help making our industry just better and better. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank
really
you so
appreciate
much.
it.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see. Back in the co-pilot seat, I think Trelvis, you still got my normal sidekick back there today. Is C3 back there?
He is. He's
C3,
stepping up to the mic
doing?
now.
What's going on?
I just thought maybe you'd close us out, pray us out, man. Just wish everybody a great weekend. We got great weather coming up, right?
We do. I'm excited for it. I'm ready to get out and play some golf.
Ready to get out and play some golf. So I think, having said that, Rachel, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having
Guys,
me.
appreciate you. Love you way you managed the fight for us here. Really did a great job. And ladies and gentlemen in the audience, thank you once again for being loyal fans. We really appreciate you. It means a lot to us. Hit the like button. Show us the love out there in Facebook land. And we'll catch you next week right here live on Cliff's Notes.